All you really need is someone who's committed to the process, wants to make themselves better, wants to learn welding, wants to actually put in the work. But it
Right.
sounds like between all these different grants and government programs, federal and state level, chances are a lot of people could train at no cost to themselves.
Right. Yep.
Love it.
Absolutely.
So there's one grant that you still didn't talk about. Talk to me about the American Welding Society $1,500 scholarship.
All right. The American Welding Society has an endowment, which I forget how many millions it is now, but they have 3 different grants you can apply for online. You go to aws.org. There's a $1,000 grant, there's a $1,500 grant, and there's a $3,500 grant. The $3,500 grant, from my experience with my committee on AWS, those grants basically are still going to kids that are going after 4-year degrees in weld engineering. Okay. But the welders, they're all my welders and other welders around New England out of my committee. They're getting grants for $1,000 and $1,500 fairly regularly.
Is it cash to the student or is it sent to the school?
It's sent to the school, but if
Covers their tuition.
If the student maxes out the tuition, then it becomes a reimbursement to the student.
Awesome. Okay, so we covered how to pay for it, which is essentially if you do the work, you don't have to pay for it. We covered that amazing employers are hiring, SpaceX, Generac, right? United Alloy. I've posted about welding before, and then whenever I post, I talk about BLS.gov, Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov, for income ranges, because I want to be conservative and cite the government stats. Whenever I cite to the government stats, I get so many comments from people yelling at me that they make so much more than what BLS.gov reports. Talk to me about just like the niches in welding. I've heard underwater welding, for example, is killer when it comes to being able to stack your salary. What are some of the specialties that someone might not appreciate if they do want to learn welding, like what they could strive for, what they could keep stacking their skills towards?
I'm not a terrible big fan of underwater welding because it is so dangerous. It pays very, very, very well, but if you get down underneath and there's a disease you can get from inhaling, I think it's nitrogen maybe. Don't quote me on that though, but you know, it contaminates your system and it really screws your body up. I've talked to a couple welders who have experienced that. So underwater, I'm not a big fan of. And besides, most underwater welders are really making about the same as a journeyman pipe welder or a journeyman pipeline welder. All the rates are up 50, 60 bucks an hour now. And then working out of the back of your truck, starting your own business, if you can chase work from job to job, obviously you're going to make a lot more working for yourself than you are working for the man. But at 55 bucks an hour plus overtime, the unions are looking to be a really good place to be right now.
So I love that you said that, and I'll be candid. Underwater welding just sounds sexy. I love that, how real you are, and you're like, listen, I don't necessarily like it because of the ABC. I think that's the view from someone who has decades in the experience that people need to hear about. So thank you for that. So related to welding then, NDT, non-destructive testing.
Yep.
Can you touch on that? Because I talked about NDT once and the comments just went crazy with people not even knowing it was a thing, but saying how it's the best thing ever that happened to them. There's different levels of certification.
It's probably one of the best kept secrets in the construction world over the last 30 years. I picked it up. I'd never heard about it in my life, and I picked it up when I was in the Air Force. It's like, what's this NDT thing? They're coming out spraying this junk on this aircraft engine, and they come out and find a crack somehow, right? So I ended up getting trained in NDT, and it's been a really good life. We started out doing some inspection in ski areas, because ski areas have to do 20% of their grips and chairs every year, mag particle or UT or penetrant, and it's a good paying job. We got, at one time we had like 30, 40 ski areas we were doing, and then we branched off into other things. And of course, here I am sitting in a school now, right? So we still do some NDT. We do some weld inspection on bridges when like the state of Vermont rehabs a bridge, right? If there's welding and cutting on it, they'll hire what they call a certified welding inspector, which is another step up from a welder with AWS, the American Welding Society. And that's great money because you're inspecting welds to the structural code or the bridge code, and making sure that the welds are put in right, the cutting was done right, the beveling was done right, a lot of verification to make sure the work is all to code. What we also do at the welding schools, we certify welders. So they've got to be certified to a code and a procedure. So they come in here, test to the code, test to the procedure, and we'll certify them either under their company or under their own shingle, depending on what they want to do. So either they can work for themselves or they're certified to work for this other company. So that's another niche we charge for.
So I'm hearing the through line of what I'm hearing is it's not just become a welder. It's learn this skill. This skill opens doors to so many different paths. If you want to be adventurous, if you want to become an inspector, if you want to specialize, that it's not just okay, I'm a welder. It's not a one size. It's an industry in and of itself with so many subs and so many ways to keep stacking and keep elevating your income, that the first step is learning, but then find your path, right? Is that far off?
Yeah, no, the unions set that up years ago, and there's a lot of niche to what the unions are doing. The union here in Burlington, it's welders and welders and plumbers. Okay, so you come in as a certified welder, you're still going to have to learn plumbing along the way. So then what happens there? These guys, they're not dummies. They know how to make money. They figure it out at a young age. And I know welders who on weekends install furnaces. I know welders who install hot water tanks. I know welders who will redo all the plumbing in somebody's bathroom rehabilitation. There's a lot of things you can do on the side. And there's some welders up here, some own them, but some build sugaring places for our maple syrup. How do you get the maple syrup from top of the mountain to the bottom? Well, tubing, and when it gets to the sugar house, it's all stainless steel and it's got to be welded. It's got to be, or brazed or something like that, depending if it's copper or not. And so there's a lot of different things you can do. Every welder with a truck, I'm sure, has parked at a gas station filling up and had somebody come up to him and say, hey, I need a handrail welded up, or hey, I broke my whatever out in my garden. Can you fuse it back together for me? It's crazy. We have people walk in the front door of our school all the time like that. Just
I think
odds and ends.
If you learn a skilled trade, and this is where, even though we're talking about welding, HVAC, electrician, pipe, plumbing, if you learn a skilled trade, what it sets you up for. If you have an office job and you work for IBM, right? Or let's go back to the SpaceX example. If you work for SpaceX at a desk job, when you leave, you're sort of off the clock. You can't really do anything else. But if you have a skilled trade, call it a side gig if you want, or just call it extra work, or call it being entrepreneurial. I had an electrician come. I bought a new home in Florida, and I had the electrician of the builder come and do the side work for me. And then through the builder, he did the official work. And then I was like, I want some projects done. The hourly rate, he charged me, not an hourly rate, he charged me based on the project, but then based on the time it took him, the hourly rate he got was very complimentary to him. Like, he commanded his premium, but he did great work. The ability to do those side gigs, I think that's what makes these true six-figure businesses. And then if you're entrepreneurial, you open up your own business. You work for yourself, maybe full-time or on the side after you're working at a company or a union. The stackability of it is tremendous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a guy up here in the union here in Burlington that he went on the road once he got his journeyman license, and he traveled for 3 years, came back here, brought his girlfriend with him, came back here, built a house back 20 years ago for $300,000, paid cash for it, opened up his own plumbing business, and he just sold his plumbing business off to a bigger